Hi everyone, I'm going to do a tutorial today dealing with seashells. I have an order that somebody wants this done with these seashells inside, but you have to remember these seashells spiral around down in, so they hold a lot of air pockets. What I'm going to do is I'm going to toss these in some pre-mixed resin. We're going to allow them to kind of sit there and start absorbing. I'll stir them some, but you'll see air bubbles popping out every time they sink. And that's our goal. We want those air bubbles to fill up, pop, and give us a full shell with resin. So we're going to go ahead and drop as many as I can in here really fast. And I'm going to sneak over to the other side of my table, and I'm going to grab my long tweezers because we're going to use those to pull these out. And I'm going to show you what I'm going to do then, because I'm not going to put them back in the mold that they're going in. They're going to go into this other mold for now. I'm throwing everything on the floor, just so you know. All right. I've got my paper towel here. Got my trusty, crappy tweezers that are covered in resin beyond resin. So I have my dotting tool and my tweezers. I'm going to grab this first one up and I'm going to kind of give him a little shake. And he's still semi-full with resin. I want him to drip off some. And I'm going to move this a little closer. I don't see any more bubbles popping up, so I'm going to carefully just lay him right there. He's kind of big for these holes, but I want him to lay semi-flat so that the resin stays in him. There we go. All right, here comes the next one. Grab his rim, and there's bubbles that come up, and I just simply pop them with my dotting tool. Shake off the excess, and I'm going to let him just kind of rest there. Let's pull this one up, grab a hold of him, if I can get a hold. There we go. Give him a little shake, and I kind of move the dotting tool around because there's a bunch of bubbles that just work their way up then. So we're going to let him dribble off his excess. We're going to place him right there. These are not going to sit in here long enough to set up all the way. I just want them to get firm enough a little bit so that the air holes are filled before we put them into the main mold. So there's another one. Grab him. There we go. Up. Slippery little buggers, just like the snails that live in them. It's slippery. I don't want to have an overwhelming amount. I can't hold on to him. I don't want an overwhelming amount of resin because in case these adjust in this mold, I don't want all the resin pouring out. Not that it's going to matter. It'll peel right off once it's hardened anyways, just like removing a finished product. But I'm going to lay him there. Let me try and get a hold of the next one. Okay, here we go. And again, as soon as you turn it vertical with the solid closed part down at the bottom, you'll start getting the little bubbles rising up and you'll be able to see them to be able to pop them. So I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to repeat it with all of these. And then once they're solidified some, I'll show you how we're going to transfer them into this mold, and we'll pour clear around them and top them off, and then we'll let it set. So we'll be back in a little while once I'm done with these and they're ready to go. Okay, everybody, we are back, and in the beginning, I showed you guys how to put your shells into some resin and make sure that you fill it up so that the air bubbles come out from the spindles inside of your actual shells. What I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pour just a little bit of this resin that I have ready to go into the bottom, going around the bubbled area here. So I don't want a lot. I just want a little bit to put a little coating down underneath before I place the shells. And that should be good, because the shells are going to take up some room also, just like when you shove crayons into a jar before you do it. I'm going to use my hands because it's going to be the easiest. It's going to be the stickiest and messiest, but it's going to be the easiest. So let me grab a wipe so I can wipe my hands then really quick. Okay, I want to alternate the types of shells. So they're going to be kind of stuck, and that's fine. Don't worry about it. Just put it down into your hole, place it where you want. And I'm going to alternate the brown and white ones, because these are starting to set up in the other little mold, and that's all right. It held them still for now. And again, resin when it's still tacky is pretty forgiving. So I'm going to push that in there. It kind of wants to spin because of the way it's shaped. It's a big one. Okay, this one. And I'm going to put it in there. Okay, this one. Yeah, that one's going to be a little problem, I think. He's going to want to keep spinning because he is so big and doesn't really fit in there well. So maybe if I kind of turn him sideways some, he might be a little better. There we go. All right, another white one. But what is nice is that down deep in these shells, it's already filled with resin. So you won't have to worry about bubbles coming up and out. They're already taken care of because we made sure of that beforehand. And again, I'm just going to continue alternating my shells and getting them put in here. I am going to be a sticky mess, but that's okay. That one's a little big too. I'm going to have to turn him sideways. This in. Okay. Let's see. There we go. There's this one. Get him in there. Get this one down in there. We're going pretty good. Now, once I get these placed, I'm going to go ahead and use the rest of my mixed resin, and I'm going to pour over the top of these. I want to only stay with the resin in the bubbled ring part. I don't want it on my base yet in the middle. I just want it to be around the circumference of the whole shell. Here we go. We've got one more to go. And as for the resin that's in this mold right now that's not completely set, I'm just going to let it harden and I'll peel it off tomorrow with some tape. It'll work just fine. All right, let me wipe my hands. And there you can see, let me get rid of this. I'm going to move this to the middle here. You can see now all our shells are placed. Some of the bigger ones are going to be a little problematic, that as it is curing, you might have to come back in and kind of give them a little twist to get them locked into position. And that's okay. I do it all the time with my frogs when I'm placing things in it too. So you can see that the resin that we put in actually has risen up because of the weight and the pressure of the shells being added. Now I am just going to slowly pour this on, and I'm going to let it fill into the rest of the gap of these shells that aren't completely full. They're filled down deep, but we want to fill that last little bit of a lip that may not have any, because it might have poured out when we put it into the other holder. And that's okay too. We're just going to fill them up real slow. Now, I'm not going to say you're not going to have any air bubbles pop out. You very well may. They may be hiding and they may eventually work their way up. And if they do, just pop them. Use your dotting tool or a pair of tweezers with some alcohol sprayed on it, and it'll pop those right up. So I'm just going to continue. I'm just going to put a little tiny bit more there, and I think that's about it. That's all I'm going to want on there. Maybe a little bit right here on this one. There we go. Okay. I'm apologizing if my arm's in your way while I'm pouring. I'm sorry. And there we have it. There are your alternating shells in each of their little bubbles. They're now, for the most part, completely covered with resin. This one's a little large, but that's okay. So's that one. Check them. I'd give them about 20 minutes, see if there's any more bubbles popping. If there are, go ahead and pop them like I said. And we're gonna let this cure until tomorrow. And then tomorrow we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna do a back pour. I think we're gonna go with something teal or ocean blue effect because this is for someone that lives near the beach. And we'll be back tomorrow for the final back pour. Good morning, guys. We are here to finish our seashell dish tutorial. As you can all see, we now have a perfect ring of seashells. No bubbles since we had already filled them with resin and let them sit for a while. Right now you could literally pull this out of here and you would have a ring of seashells. But we don't want to do that because we want to finish the dish. So what I've done is I've mixed up 100 milliliters of my resin, and I did equal parts of Let's Resin color shifting Lagoon Blue and Persian Green to get this beautiful light teal shade. I want it to still be translucent. I don't want to be too solid. So it's going to give it some shimmer and look like ocean water. So let's go ahead. I am going to spray this center here a little bit just to release some of the friction as I pour this, and it flows a little easier. So here we go. Just going to give it a coating to bring it up to the edge of the rim of the mold. The shells look beautiful. They really do. They've turned out very nice. They didn't even move on me. I didn't have to go back and play with them at all. They stayed where I stuck them yesterday, which is good. Makes it a little easier on everyone. And I think that is about it. So that there, folks, is our final pour, our back pour as I like to call it, on our seashell dish with just a very light teal shade. It'll still allow light to transfer through so you get a little bit more brightness and reflection. So that's our tutorial on how to prep seashells. Put them in your molds and put your back pour on. And I hope that helps you in the long run whenever you're working with seashells. It's always a great idea to allow them to soak in resin, get rid of the air bubbles. Then you don't have to fight the air bubbles in your final product. So you guys, hope you enjoy this tutorial and you all have a great Wednesday. All right, here we are. Time to reveal our seashell dish. I had shown how we take care of the seashells prior to with some resin to get rid of the air bubbles. As you can see, we have no air bubbles in here. We place them. We let that with its clear resin around the border cure. Then yesterday morning, we went ahead and we mixed up a very light teal colored back pour. Just want a little bit of color. We don't want to detract from the seashells. They are the star. So let's see if we can get this peeled back here. And let's see how our shell dish turned out. Oh, that is gorgeous. How beautiful. It's sheer, but it's teal. Doesn't take away from the pretty shells. Beautiful. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that tutorial. If you have any more questions in regards to it, please ask. Tune in to my YouTube channel, Glistening Resin by Sandy, and on Facebook, Glistening Resin by Sandy. You guys all have a fabulous day, and thanks for joining me on my tutorial. Bye.